So we'll just look at this one. It runs from 3 p.m. through to 11 p.m. at night. Now, these predictions are based on no suppression by fire agencies. So if we can get in there quick, particularly in the first 15-20 minutes and hit a fire, we can have some significant effect on how a fire is going to behave and stop in its early stages before it becomes established. So just keep in mind this is if there's no suppression. So we're looking at a fire that starts up on the freeway. We've had quite a few fires that have started up on the freeway in the last few years. So there's the start of the fire there, and I'll zoom in a bit. Now, fire in grassland usually travels quicker rather than in forest. So it's a westerly wind, fire starting up on the freeway, up to the first hour, second hour, we're up to 7 p.m. now. As you can see, as night time comes in, temperatures drop, wind drops. Usually, the fire spread hasn't increased that much. They're the sort of fires that we'd probably get in there and be able to suppress before it actually got to that stage. If it's in the grassland, even though it's travelling fast, we should be able to get in there and stop it. Again, if we look at the same fire on the extreme day, again I'll zoom out. So north-northwesterly. Probably the road and the township stop that fire. We're then going to have a wind change up to 6 p.m. And you can see how quick we're up to 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 p.m. at night. So you'll see there's also some spotting there because it started hitting that forest. So these predictions are actually quite accurate. There's been quite a few people that have done PhDs just in doing this fire predictive mapping. It looks at the topography, the fuel in the area, and then works out the wind and temperature and everything, the fire danger rating for the day, and then can actually plot that fire. So we actually use this, if we get a fire start, our incident control centres actually use this to look where a fire's going to run. That way we know where to put out warnings and where we need to put our resources. So again, you can see the impact of that fire, is quite significant. And it would be very hard for us to suppress that fire unless we got to it in the early stages. The next one we're looking at is Glen Luce. So I've got anyone that lives sort of down the Vaughan Springs Road area. So I've got all that forest sort of to the west of us up towards Castlemaine, Chewton. Again, forest with all those bark types. These are the fires that worry us because we have a fire from the north-northwest around our area. That's where all the forest is to our north-northwest, so that's where a fire's going to run, and that's where we could have a fire 5-10 k's away from Malmsbury. We're actually going to get spotting for that fire into town. So again, they're the ones that worry us. So again, we're just looking at a high fire danger day. So we're still getting some spotting with that fire because of those bark types, even on a high fire danger day. We're up to 7:30 p.m. up to 9 p.m. So again, that's a fire. If we can get in there quickly with aircraft and trucks, we hopefully should be able to suppress that in its early stages. One of the problems with this area here is the accessibility, but also lightning strikes. We get a lot of lightning strikes. So we're going to have, a thunderstorm come overnight, hit a tree, start with the fire, and then usually only pops up the next day when we find out about it. So we look at the same fire on an extreme day. Again, I'll zoom out. So we're all the way down to Tilton. It covers quite a large area here. So we've got lots of spotting already. in the first hour. It's all the way past Glen Lyon, spotting all the way down past Tilden, and then we've got the wind change. You can see the spotting all the way up into Malmsbury and Taradale. And if any of these spot fires are caught, we can also have a fire front heading all the way up there. So again, the message we're trying to give you out of that is you've got to know where you live. Do you live near forest? Do you adjoin grassland where you could have a very fast-moving fire? Could you be impacted by spotting on one of those those extreme fire danger days if you live on that side of the forest? And why it's so important to know your fire danger rating. So you need to have a plan. Are we going to shelter in place? Is our house defendable? If it's not, and you don't want to stay there, what's your plan? What's your trigger for not being at home on that day? Because really the safest option for most people when we have that elevated fire danger is to not be at home. Because even though you might think that your house is defendable, do you have grandkids or kids there? Do you have elderly people you need to care for? It's not just about you. You need to account for people that you look after as well. What happens if the kids are at school? What happens if you're at work? Whole different scenarios, and you need to build your plan around that. So where to get information? If you've got a phone that has a smartphone, either an Apple or a Samsung or something like that, recommend you get the Vic Emergency app. You can set areas around where you live, but also where you are with your phone. You might set it out to 5 or 10k, so you can actually get a message saying if any fires start in that area. You can set it as wide as you like. It'll give you warnings, tell you the fire danger rating for the day, a whole heap of information. It's a great way to stay informed. You can tune into local ABC radio. That will also give warnings, because that's after a fire started. But also on hot, dry, windy days, the best way for you to protect yourself is to actually leave early. So have that plan and know when that trigger is that you're actually not going to be at home on those days. Particularly if you adjoin, those forest types or live in the forest. You really need to know, is our house defendable? When's our trigger to leave or not be there? And leaving after a fire started is really too late. We have a lot of people that unfortunately lose their lives because they've left it too late. They wait until the fire's actually on before they leave. And that's where it's dark, it's smoky, it's really not the time to go.